Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me this lovely Tuesday evening for an In Service to Life Michael the Mayor live stream. Over the past few weeks, we've been interviewing a lot of the National Green Party presidential and vice presidential candidates because I really want people to understand why I chose to run on the Green Party platform and to get some context for the kind of values that the Green Party espouses and the things that we're working on together in a grassroots way to make the world a more beautiful place. And this week, I am really honored to have a real wonderful voice for the people and for the planet, someone that everyone I've talked to within the Green Party has really high regard for and a lot of respect for, who does a lot of work on behalf of everybody on the planet. So really grateful to have Darlene Elias joining me today from the Dario Hunter campaign. Thank you for joining, Darlene.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, I love it. Like I said, I know the chair of the Green Party in Utah, Dee Lynn, is such a huge fan of yours. She's had the pleasure of working with you in a few capacities and just can't speak highly enough about you. So thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you're near the end of a pretty exciting campaign with Dario, and I'm grateful that you took some time for me today. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's my privilege, actually.
I always love to start off with the opportunity to have you introduce yourself a little more, and maybe if you're willing to talk just a little bit about your story, about how you ended up so involved with the Green Party and as Dario's vice presidential pick.
So, my name again is Darlene Elias, and a Puerto Rican Hawaiian woman who lives in Holyoke, Massachusetts. I've been living in Massachusetts for a good part of my life, but I'm originally from the Bronx, New York, and I grew up in a single family, single mother. Um, a single parent family is what I meant, single mother with four siblings, four younger siblings, and we moved to the city that I live in, which is primarily composed of Puerto Ricans and Irish and French people. It's kind of like an old mill community or city. City. At one point, it was the textile fabric community of the world, actually, in its heyday. um, to talk about a little bit about me and how I became a Green Party person. When we moved to Holyoke, Massachusetts, we dealt with a lot of issues in the city here, just like in the Bronx, New York. There was a lot of disenfranchisement, a lot of marginalization, gentrification issues going on in the city. And actually, I was displaced at that time. Our city was subject to a lot of fires and a lot of arson. And I went to go live in an apartment complex in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and for my teenage years. And I lived there with my family until I went off to college. I went to college. I have a master's degree in social work, another degree in political science. Raised my family, engaged in my career. And then halfway around that time, actually, it was around 2011, the apartment complex that I grew up in was going to be demolished. And so what I did was I started to rally community support. I start to advocate for the tenants and the residents of the apartment complex, and I became a voice for them. And what I did was I approached the local chapter, Pioneer Valley chapter of the Green Rainbow Party of Massachusetts, and I asked them for help. My intention was again to mobilize and build coalitions and so forth around this cause, and we were very effective. We facilitated a discrimination lawsuit with the help of the chair of the local chapter, who happened to be a lawyer, and he was very helpful in that. It was a pivotal move. We filed with the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination, and the mayor decided to back off on the demolition, and it started this process of coalition building with the state. And now the apartment complex is a $50 million renovation project, redevelopment redevelopment project in its second phase. And so that was something that I was very proud to do. But because the Green Party invested in me and believed in me and supported the tenants and the community, I always felt indebted to the Green Party. So I stuck around. And I started doing a lot of activism with the Green Party. And little by little, I gained exposure with the Green Party. I started learning about the Green Party and its platform, that I started taking on leadership positions within the Green Party. And eventually I became the state co-chair for the Massachusetts Green Rainbow Party. And then from there, I started taking on some leadership positions within the National Party. And I've held a variety of positions. I've been national co-chair, co-chair of the Latinx caucus. I am co-chair right now of the Women's Caucus. In addition to that, I'm a delegate on the national committee. And I've done a lot of grassroots work in my community on issues that are important to me, which are mostly housing and education and issues of race. Some Black Lives Matter work that I've done as well. And now I'm working with Dario Hunter a few months ago. He approached me and had asked me if I was interested in doing this. And I guess what he had done as well, though, he had put out a national survey and contacted many Greens within the party and had asked for recommendations, and my name came up. And so he then, inquired with me if that would be something of interest to me. And you know what I said to him, Mike? I said, there have to be a lot more people out there that are much more qualified than me. Keep searching, keep looking, keep narrowing it down. And they continued to narrow it down and continued to narrow it down. And then I was told I was in the top 5. And I'm like, yeah, please, there has to be someone else. And, and I'm sure that we have so many qualified and so many intelligent Greens within the party, compassionate Greens, activists who are just really fighting the good fight and the cause. And so I'm sure that there are many women out there, or many individuals that could have been, Dario Hunter's choice. And I think that one of the reasons why he chose me is because we connect in regard to the same values and our level of advocacy and our activism. We're both very strong activists in our communities, and we believe in being a voice for the voiceless, for the disenfranchised and the marginalized.
Beautiful. It's wonderful to hear of your success with that particular redevelopment project and keeping that demolishment happen. There's nothing more rewarding as a community organizer and activist to actually see the needle move in your favor when so often the results are disappointing.
And for me, what's even, I don't do it for myself, to be honest with you. And I think but there's been moments that have been really, really rewarding for me. One of them was when one of the tenants, he was a man who had been displaced a number of times, and he was very fearful about having to be displaced again and having to start his whole life over. And actually, he became one of the individuals who signed off on the class action suit. And one day he contacted me. He says, you know what, Darlene, I have something for you. Can you come, and stop by my house? I want to share something with you. And when I went to his house, he shared with me this cup that had pictures. They were actually murals that the residents had painted on the walls of Lyman Terrace. And some of the murals were Que Viva Lyman Terrace, right? And so they had sent to make mugs out of that. And he gave me a mug and he said to me, Darlene, I just wanted to share this with you. He says, I'm very grateful for what you did. And at the same time, he showed me his apartment. He was one of the first that were able to move back into his apartment that had been redeveloped. And And for me, that was very rewarding. I don't do the work that I do for recognition. I do it for the people.
Mm. It's also really rewarding to hear about the Green Party taking such an interest in an important community issue and backing you up and helping support you with that. I know the Green Party of Utah is really embattled right now on a lot of different ways. It's hard to saturate the community as much as we'd like, and I'm hoping to be a good pioneer for the Green Party of Utah here, get more candidates interested in running and build the movement here so that we can create that grassroots democracy and that neighborhood level organizing that I know is necessary for the transformation of our political life and for justice to finally start to emerge like it needs to. In your opinion, is the Green Party still doing well in your state? And maybe talk a little bit about the state of the Green Party on the national level as a whole. I think you've got definitely the experience within the ranks to be able to talk to what's going on with it, maybe improvements, things that need to happen, or your vision for it moving forward. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So one of the things, as you know, as a VP candidate, and as a national co-chair, I've had a lens. I've been privileged enough to have a lens of what's been happening from state to state. And one of the things that I've recognized, or we all know, a lot of us know who work on the national level, is that some state parties are more built and have stronger infrastructures than others. One of the things that I feel very proud about with the Massachusetts Green Rainbow Party is that we have a very strong functioning Green Rainbow Party, in the sense that we have chapters, in the sense that we have a state committee that is very functioning. We have an AdCom committee. And those infrastructures are really, really important, where they're meeting on a regular basis. They're collaborating, and they're making really important decisions as to the future of the party, party building, and things like that. But unfortunately, those things do not exist many state parties across the United States. Some of the parties are really small. You have people within the party that have been around for a very, very long time. I like to refer to them as the green elites, actually, meaning that they're individuals who are very, very dedicated and care about the party, but they're also individuals that have privilege with their positions and their roles. Some of them have been occupying these positions for a long time. Some of them have been in these leadership roles in a long time. So, it becomes really challenging. Challenging in the sense that we need to party build and we need to grow. And if you have a small number of Greens all across the United States, from state to state, doing the majority of the party work, it becomes extremely challenging. You begin to deal with things like burnout, people coming in and being in the party for a little while and then leaving. And so those are some real extreme challenges, I think, that we have in regards to party building. We need to work on recruitment. We need to work on engagement. We need to work on having people maintain within the Green Party. We need to work on uplifting Green Party members within the party, give them the vehicle and the mechanism to champion their causes. And I'm not sure if we do that well enough. As you stated, we're very challenged with being visible in the communities, engaging frontline communities, not for the purpose of the Green Party, but for the purpose of the people that we work with on a daily basis. And I'm of the mindset that if we were to figure out a way within the Green Party to do movement building and capacity building, and work on our personal politics, so to speak, and be more of a presence in frontline communities, our party would grow. You'd see people wanting to come to the forefront and be a part of the Green Party. But then also when they do come through the door, we need to be able to allow them to take on leadership roles, and uplift them in that way. We need to mentor them, allow them to take on leadership roles, and then also provide them education, training, and support so that they can run for office as well, because the electoral piece is also a very important part of our political party. And if we don't have enough people coming in and raising their consciousness and their awareness, and fighting the good fights, using the Green Party platform and us as a political party, then what you see is the same individuals running for office. They're not only running for office, but they're also attempting to keep their small party infrastructure together, and they're dealing with the numerous issues that come with preparing for ballot access, preparing for larger presidential campaigns, and so forth. And so it's extremely challenging. And my vision is to bring people into the party. But one of the things that we really need to do is build on our infrastructure. Our infrastructure right now is very weak.
Well, there's some very valid discussions about what a really functioning and healthy looking Green Party would bring, and also some places for improvement. What would you say are some of the positive things that have kept you so engaged in the Green Party over the years? And maybe this ties in a little bit to your goals as a vice presidential candidate and the current energy of the campaign with Dario.
So, the Green Party has the best platform out there. And so that's one thing. It aligns with me as an individual, my morals, my values, and so forth. When I think about why do I continue to be in the Green Party, it's because I really would like to see the day where a third party is elected, has such an influence in Congress and politics in the United States, and where somebody is elected as president within the United States through the vehicle and mechanism of, a third party. We need to get more progressives into office. We need to get more liberals into office. The only way that we are going to be able to get our agenda in, our progressive agenda in, is by electing more individuals, and getting more people into the office. And the only way we can do that is by eliminating a lot of the obstacles and challenges that exist. Some of that stuff is the corruption, the money that is donated, to the Democrats and the Republicans. Ending Citizens United, the Electoral College, voter suppression, all those things. And so we have to go in, what I would like to see us do as a Green Party is tackle those issues, right, that prevent us from, being elected into office and being a more strong presence in politics and within our Congress and our political system. And the reality of the matter is, until we do that, we're not going to see systemic change. We're not going to be able to see the things that are so valuable and important to the American people, things such as Medicare for all, housing for all, education for all, employment, jobs, a living wage, all those things that are so vital to a healthy, functioning society. We're not going to be able to get those things in until we elect people into office, and we're not going to be able to elect people into office until we battle those challenges and overcome those challenges, and until we increase or improve the infrastructure of our party. And that's what I would like to do. That's what I would like to see. I'm about systems change. If I was ever to get elected into office, whether it was on the national level or, as a VP candidate, so forth, that's what I want. I want systems change that allows for more progressives to get into office so that we can bring to fruition and realization our progressive agenda.
I hear a lot of people talking about transformation and even revolution and all these things happening in consciousness and on the community level. And I think people forget sometimes that the political world has to transform along with it. And it's kind of a no-brainer to me that it's not going to transform within the framework of a two-party system. I come from,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I come from the background. Mhm.
Absolutely. And I have to say that, when we started seeing the demonstrations with Black Lives Matter, 5, 6 years ago, and then we're seeing a repeat of that now, that stuff really, really encourages me. When people take control over their circumstances and they demand change. But one of the things that we're forgetting is that if we're not tackling and focusing on the electoral piece and the actual system that enacts laws, right, and adopts policies, right, and we're not working on that specific area, we're still not going to see the change that we want. Look at what happens with the Democrats, how they presented a bill that supposedly is going to bring forth sweeping changes and reforms, right? As far as law enforcement goes and the way police handle matters. Okay, so they brought that forward. However, then you have the Republican side, and Mitch McConnell, who doesn't even want to entertain that, right? And so this is really problematic. This bipartisan politics that's going on. If we had more progressives, in seats in Congress, we wouldn't be dealing with this.
Yeah. To me, there's almost more difference between a true progressive and a Democrat than there is between the Democrats and Republicans. And it's pretty ridiculous that we don't have a really defined third element in our political system, just like every other country on earth has a more diverse set of political interests that have to come together and find better ways to be representative of the people. So something's got to give, and it makes me feel really good about the future of the Green Party to have someone that I can talk to that's been so deep within it. And there's some interesting things going on for you right now and with the Dario campaign. I mean, I think a few of us in the Green Party kind of saw an announcement a while back that the nomination was clinched or whatever, but that's not the case. There's actually some movement going on right now, and I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about what's going on with your campaign.
So we're opening up a Pandora's box there, right?
Fun. I'm all about transparency, and they say the Green Party is too, right?
About transparency. So, Mike, I'm all about election integrity, right? And one of the reasons why I chose to be in the Green Party is because of my morality and my sense of ethics, right? And this is the party that's going to allow me to be politically active, to champion my causes, to work at making a difference in the world. Improving my surroundings and my environment and all of that, and just making sure that my children and my grandchildren have a better future, that they have a fighting chance at life, right? So, so for me, the Green Party is that vehicle, right? I have hope for the Green Party and aspirations for the Green Party. But if we do not, as a party, work on the very issues that we are having, these internal issues that we are having, and we do not aspire to uphold our platform and our own ethics and our own integrity, then we're not going to be successful. That's the reality of the matter. And I know that Dario Hunter, not too long ago, maybe just a couple of days ago, he announced that the Hunter Elias campaign was going to be making an official challenge at the convention in regards to the assignment of delegates or the way they were apportioned in various states. Many people are upset about it. And we had to take a really hard look at that. We don't want to alienate anybody. We don't want to divide the party. We're not about factionalism. But what we are about is that individuals who do not have an avenue to run because of how corrupt Democrats are and how corrupt Republicans are and how much money is needed to run successful campaigns and how we are disenfranchised and marginalized as a party and how we are intentionally excluded, right, from the media blackouts, debates, and things like that. Um, we have to make sure that as a Green Party, we are affording everyone the opportunity, the democratic opportunity to be able to run a campaign and allow the people to decide who it is that they want to uplift. And one of the problems and one of the challenges that have been with the Green Party, as I alluded to before, is that some of these Green parties in every state, they're so small that what's happening is that candidates are actually being nominated by small groups of Greens, which I call the Green elites. And in some areas and in some states, you will have a really small number of individuals who are actually participating in their primaries and nominating. And part of the problem with that is that there's not a uniform process across the United States, right? This means that each state party can dictate the terms of how their primary is going to occur, particularly if they don't have ballot access. And so that becomes very challenging because what happens is the state parties get to choose who they filter information to, who they provide information to, who they decide is going to get ballot access, who they're going to invite to conventions or to their functions to talk. And then if you have this perception that you have a front runner, automatically you're starting the process of disenfranchising and marginalizing the individuals who are seriously interested in running. And, it's not easy to run a campaign, particularly within the Green Party, because
No, it's not.
it's not. It's extremely challenging. And it's challenging for many reasons, right?
Mhm.
So why are we making it even more challenging? Why is it that we are putting even more obstacles there? And so the other thing too is that I think that we need to take a really strong, serious look at the national infrastructure. What is it that the national infrastructure is bringing to the table?
Yeah.
Year after year, we haven't elected anybody nationally as a party, although we are the fourth largest party.
We
in the
actually have an
United
interesting comment that came up that I like to try to, it kind of touches on this topic. We have Ralph commenting here. He says, start by building grassroots support at the local level, elect green mayors and city councils, show voters at the local level what Greens can do for them. Use this to build momentum and support for Greens at the state level and eventually federal level. This will take time, but in an electoral system that is biased in favor of Democrats and Republicans, this may be the only realistic path forward. Thoughts on that? Thanks for commenting, Ralph.
So, I'm always about grassroots, right? I ran for city council in my city twice. First, I ran at large, and then I ran in my ward, and I garnered at least 42% of the vote. And so a lot of that has to do with building on capital and resources, and building power in order to do this. And you don't do that unless you have a grassroots campaign. That's the reality of the matter. Greens don't have a lot of money, particularly on the local level. Sometimes our campaigns are self-funded. But one of the dilemmas that I think that we're having, although I support grassroots campaigning on the local level, is the problem is that our infrastructure nationally is so weak. And on a state and local level, it's so weak. So what ends up happening is that a lot of people who come in and run as Greens, they have very limited support and resources that are provided to them. They come in thinking that they are going to get the resources and the support, and they don't get it. And they sometimes get discouraged about that. They may run once, they may run twice, and then they decide not to run again, right? And so this is why it's very challenging to get people into office. We have some really inspiring right now run for office, like the Lisa Savage campaign. And one of the reasons why I think that her campaign is going to be so successful and we have such the potential and the opportunity to win that race is because of ranked choice voting, right? Main ranked choice voting. If we were able to get that to happen in the majority of the states across the nation, then we're going to see many liberals and progressives get into office because it's going to equalize the disparities. It's going to make things, it's going to allow for a level playing field with many the politicians or individuals that decide to run third-party candidates. And so there's that, right? You have the local level, but then at the same time, you have people coming in, you have this entry point going on with the Green Party. They come in with a lot of momentum. We've seen a lot of Burnocrats come in, particularly with the 2016 campaign and now with the 2020 campaign. But our national infrastructure has an inability to maintain a lot of these individuals that are coming in to the Green Party. And we really need to take an honest look about why that is. Why are people coming in and then they're doing a 360-degree turn and they're turning around? Oftentimes the National Committee will say decentralization. Decentralization is a major issue. We're an affiliation of, state parties. We can't tell people what to do. On the national level, what I would say to you is, okay, you can't tell people how to function on a state level, but if you're running a national race and you're running a presidential race, with many FBC obligations, federal obligations, then the national level should have some uniform process in place to make sure that our candidates have the resources they need to run at that level. And the reality of the matter is that doesn't exist at this moment. The majority of the campaigns that have come forward on a presidential level, they've done it on their own. They've built on their own, including the Howie Hawkins campaign, including the Jill Stein campaign, including our campaign. They tend to build for a year. And then what happens is when the nomination comes in July or August, then they have only a few months left to compete at the level that the Democrats and the Republicans do. And it's hard to do that because the Republicans and the Democrats have billionaires that are buying out the elections, right? So how do you do that? Yeah. How realistic are we, right? And so if you're going to allow for the state to dictate the circumstances upon how we are going to nominate our candidates, our presidential candidates, and how this process is going to unfold, we're never going to be competitive with Democrats and Republicans. They're never going to see us in that manner, in that light, and they're not going to see us as a threat at all. That's one of the things I'm really advocating for in the course of this campaign, is just kind of highlighting just how broken the election system is in general. We always end up with people that have a lot of dispensable income, that come from political dynasties, that are remaining in power, and then most of the decisions that are impacting our daily lives are being made behind closed doors.
And our world is so dynamic. We have so much technology, so much brilliance behind us. Why is there not more of an effort to engage the public? Why can't we risk the doors opening and have some real grassroots democracy happen here? That's another thing to go deeper in. One thing I would really love to hear about from you is about your experiences that ended up leading you towards speaking to the United Nations Special Committee on Puerto Rico, and kind of what led up to that and some of the outcomes of that opportunity, if you wouldn't mind. I think that's a powerful story.
One of the kind of individuals that I am is I like to create opportunities, right? It wasn't like the Green Party said, hey, Darlene, this would be a great idea for you to do. No. As an activist, I'm a very strong independent activist for the independence of Puerto Rico. And I have my community, I have my connections. I've done a lot of grassroots work on this issue. In fact, I was in Puerto Rico in February. And so what I did was, I contacted the decolonization committee. I sent them a letter stating that I wanted to, testify or be a petitioner and speak on this issue. I was connected with an individual from Puerto Rico by the name of Ramon Nenandich, who is the president of the Sovereign Nation in Puerto Rico, which is a group is trying to exercise or regain their sovereign power in Puerto Rico. That Puerto Rico is the oldest colony in the United States, or the only colony of the United States. But what I meant to say by that is the oldest colony in the world. And so I have connected myself to grassroots and movements in Puerto Rico, nationalists, with the independence of Puerto Rico in mind. So there came that opportunity. I don't believe in being an armchair activist. I don't believe in, spending countless hours on listservs, on national listservs or state listservs, arguing issues on a virtual level. I don't really think that is very productive, to be honest with you, and that's one of the issues that we have in our party. I do appreciate all the work that is done on the committees. I appreciate all the work that's done to keep state parties together. But the reality of the matter is we need to go out there and make change and make a difference on those issues that are really important to us. So the video that you saw, or that was provided to you of the time that I did speak at the UN, that was a really special moment for me. It's one of my highlights of activism. So I went in and I spoke and I gave my 3-minute speech. But the reason why that was so special is because Octa Lopez Rivera had just been released from jail. He was one of the members of FOUND, that group, that activist group that supposedly had gone to Congress and had shot Congress, or shot a gun up in the air, demanding the liberty and the freedom of Puerto Rico. And then they had accused also that organization of doing some terrorist bombing and so forth. He became a political prisoner of war. And the year that I happened to speak at the UN, he was there and he was speaking, and he was given the privilege to be the first one to speak and address the Special Decolonization Committee. And one of the things he talked about was how Latin America needs to unify. And the Caribbean islands and these nations, these Black and brown nations, had to come together and fight the fight against US imperialism and interventionism. I identify with that. And the reality of the matter is the Green Party does as well. It's in our platform. Those are things that we are fighting against. And so that was a really, really nice moment. And then I was invited to the Venezuelan embassy after that for a special celebration and reception for Oscar Lopez Rivera. So that was one of the highlights of my party and of my activism within the party. And it was a very proud moment for me. And when I spoke to the UN, I said to them, listen, I am a Green Party co-chair. And I proudly stated that because you have the Democrats and the Republicans, they will advocate for the self-determination of Puerto Rico, but they won't tell you what self-determination is. And in fact, many Democrats and Republicans are advocating for statehood of Puerto Rico, which I am against. I think that that's just another way of saying further colonization of Puerto Rico. And we need to maintain our national identity. And really what Puerto Rico has become is a fantasy island for US corporations and for rich aristocrats. It's become kind of like their vacation paradise. And they're also extrapolating a lot of resources and money from Puerto Rico, and they're not leaving that money behind. And the circumstances in Puerto Rico are really, really dire. And we're not seeing any help in sight from the Trump administration, who happens to be very, very racist. We had a mayor years ago who stood up against Trump, and ever since then, he's had it out for Puerto Rico.
Well, I'm grateful to hear more context around that, and it's an honor to have had you on the live stream today. One thing I have to ask, people that follow my campaign and support me, they know how important it is to me to regenerate our ecosystems and to really bring people into an awareness of the permaculture and regenerative systems that are available, the soil building systems that are really so successful in so many places in the world. It's not the dominant way in which we eat food, right? Our corporate agricultural system is dependent on monocrops and poisons and long distance traveling, and there are some real issues there. And so I believe that we're all inseparably part of a living planet, and that by prioritizing our ecology, we're also bringing in the framework for healing and for justice within communities. And I want to ask on your platform with Dario, what types of agricultural reform or ecological priorities that you might have currently.
So I think like one of the major issues before we even address that is the issue of climate change. It's a real big problem. It's scorching the earth in many ways. We're seeing a reaction by Mother Nature in regards to climate change, and so it's becoming very, very challenging. We're dealing with droughts, we're dealing with earthquakes. Look at what happened in Puerto Rico, many natural disasters. And so it's really important for us to create a culture, a sustainable culture, and be able to empower individuals to be able to learn how to grow and to plant food. In regards to sustainable energy, I don't agree with the use of coals. I don't agree with fracking. We need to fight that power or that issue everywhere we go. I know that in Massachusetts, we're very active on that issue. So that also is very problematic. So you have this US imperialism going on as far as, wars for oil, dealing with coal and gas and all of that on that front. But then at the same time, we need to do what we can to preserve our nature, our climate, and our environment for us to be able to promote good agricultural practices. And so I think that the important thing there is that we would promote any kind of green economy and green jobs to be able to do that. And, tax incentives and tax credits for small businesses and small infrastructure to bring that about, those changes about, as long as they are focusing on green economy and green energy. And we need to be very careful with that as well, because, you know, sometimes these big corporations, they pretend to get in behind these causes in regards to agriculture and climate change, under the premise of, yes, this is the right thing to do, but really they're just as bad as far as seeking profit goes. And so we have to be really clear, I think, with imposing regulations necessary to monitor and prevent environmental pollution, environmental racism, and promote more sustainable energy.
Thank you. That's a great answer. I mean, you can't just take one little piece out of the living system and call it the whole deal. It comes down to energy. It comes down to how we relate to each other, the growing of the food, the practices we're using. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's a very holistic ecological approach. And so oftentimes a lot of the issues that we deal with are very multifaceted. It's just not straightforward. And we really need to look at things in a more larger global perspective, so to speak. And I think that we fail in that way sometimes. Even with the issues within our own Green Party, we need to start looking at things in a larger frame, in a more global way, besides our own personal interactions, and start to take the risk necessary to improve our party and improve the infrastructure of our party, even if it means getting lashback.
Yep. Sometimes if you're not getting a little bit of lashback, you're not doing it right. Isn't that the case?
So, we're all about election integrity. We're all about the Dario Hunter campaign is all about election integrity, about uplifting our platform, the platform of the Green Party. We're really in this together. We need to create a party that people believe in, they have respect for, that they want to come and join our party, and that they are given the opportunity to fight for the causes that they believe in. We have to do that. And we need to be fraternal and supportive with one another in that regard. Treat each other like brothers and sisters, no matter who we are. We're also very challenged as Greens where that is concerned.
Well, for such a powerful person, an experienced person within the Green Party, if you're representative of all of what makes up the Green Party, I think that people will have a lot of respect and a lot of excitement for getting involved. And it is time for that. Like I said earlier, we've got to transform the system, and that happens on the political side as well as through consciousness and through community activism and through reclaiming our sovereignty and our connection to this living planet. So thank you so much.
We often get caught in this this dialogue of there's a dichotomy here. You're either involved in electoral politics or you're involved in activism. There's not a need to do that within the Green. That's a age-old argument that we hear all the time within the Green Party. People say, well, you need to run grassroots campaigns, you need to build your infrastructure as far as your electoral politics and all of that. But the reality of the matter is that not everybody wants to run for office. And not everybody is interested in campaigning. We need to be able to open the door for activists to come in. And once they take a foot or hold in the Green Party and they really come to understand what the Green Party is about, then maybe in the future they would consider running.
There you go. I think getting the Green Party behind the activists that are doing the good frontline work is a major piece of the future. And reason that I'm choosing to run in politics is really as an extension of my community activism. makes sense that those two things are so deeply connected. And for those that don't mind being in the public view a bit and getting a chance to talk and share who you are, more power to them. Let's get more people running that have that inclination. You know, I think I might be one of the only candidates on earth that's a tattooed millennial musician farmer type, and I absolutely love the chance to speak the truths that I've come to be find as self-evident and deserving of discourse on the public level. So thank you for really highlighting so many of the issues that I think are important, why I've gravitated to the Green Party with so much enthusiasm. Do you have anything else that I failed to ask you about that's feeling fresh off the press for you tonight, Darlene?
No, I mean, I think that I hope people will, if you haven't done so, register for the convention. It's kind of unfortunate that, due to COVID-19, that we're having a virtual convention, but that doesn't mean that you can't support the Green Party and be a part of that process. And I would encourage people, if you're listening right now, to register for the Green Party convention. My understanding is that there are waivers available. You don't have to donate anything or pay anything if you can't afford it. And we have to be about access on a larger level too. We need to really walk the walk as opposed to just talk the talk. And so that means being able to provide access to all individuals who want to attend the Green Party convention this year. And so I think I wanted to put in a plug for that.
Absolutely, and I really appreciate Ralph had another follow-up question comment. He said, have you considered crowdfunding to raise campaign funds? And I'll take the opportunity to assume he's talking about me at this time. I know that we need to be supporting the Dario campaign as well and all the great campaigns that are out there. But yes, a very, very small bank account compared to the other candidates that are in the field. And I have a really talented communications team being able to broadcast from this beautiful community studio. My communications director works her tail off to make sure that these live streams are getting out there and that media is happening, all the places that you would follow anybody. I've got my Instagram and my Facebook and YouTube and all the rest. And if we are able to generate funds, it means that we reach more people. And in my race, the county here in Salt Lake, there's 1 million people to reach. And we do have the ability to reach all those folks, but we do need that monetary support to get the message out there enough so that we can, at the very least, it's not even that I win the election. The most important thing to me is that these issues that I put my heart and soul into are elevated, and there's actual needles moving, and there's actual improvement happening in the spirit of bringing our communities together and creating more opportunities for mutual aid and activism, for protecting our clean air and our clean water and our fertile soils, and bringing equality to the forefront, demanding it now, and bringing that transparency and that grassroots democracy back. And if these things are important to you, if independent media is important to you, if you want to help me reach reach the people in this county and beyond, this is a great time to support the campaign. We definitely need it. And you can find me anywhere, michaelthemayor.com, Michael the Mayor on Facebook, Michael the Mayor on Instagram. Really appreciate any support that we get, and also support given to the national candidates as well, like Dario and Darlene, and all the rest that are fighting the good fight for the future of our country. So thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and thank you Darlene for being on the live stream tonight. Thank
you so much.
Yes.
We need more people like you, and I wanted to tell you, Michael the Mayor is really catchy.
Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you. Just putting it out there, just saying it how it is. I think for the plants at my farm, they already agree. So I'm going for it.
Michael the Mayor is very catchy, and I really hope to hear some really good things about you in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, Darlene. Have a beautiful rest of your evening.
Good night.
When the morning light reveals us and our consequences clear, and all our fruitless aspirations are hanging heavy in the air. Well, we rise like lions after slumber, rage against the dying light. Be the change we're here to offer, be a lighthouse in the night. 'Cause we are walking into darkness with lights upon our backs, people counting on our senses with a compass but no maps. In service to life we find our answer. Look again, not all is lost. See the endless gifts of nature through the power of your love. And I'm not saying there's no darkness, but there's a silver lining there. We can release what doesn't serve us in distraction and despair. The living earth wants us whole, and there will be blessings like they've been for me. And there will be healing like there is for us. So pack your bags and don't look backwards. I can tell you've done your work. You are the change you're here to offer. You are the dreamer woken up. Shambhala warriors are arising, fulfilling prophecies of old. So gather your sisters and your cousins, turn yourselves to solid gold. 'Cause we are walking into darkness with lights upon our backs, and we can get through damn near anything if we're grounded in our task. In service to life we find our answer. Look again, not all is lost. See the endless gifts of nature through the power of your love. And I'm not saying there's no darkness, but there's a silver lining there. We can release what doesn't serve us in distraction and despair. The living earth wants us whole, and there will be blessings like they've been for me. And there will be healing like there is for us. In service to life, in service to life, in service to life, in service to life, in service to life. In service to life, in service to life, in service to life, in service to life, in service to life. I am in service to life. You are in service to life. We are in service to life. It's all in service to life. Forest gospel in service to life. Ecstatic dance in service to life. Air protectors in service to life. Permaculture's in service to life. Regeneration in service to life. Salt Lake in service to life. Utah's in service to life. One love in service to life. One nation in service to life. One world in service to life. The whole universe in service to life. It's all in service to life. So rise like lions after slumber. Rage against the dying light. Be the change you're here to offer. Be a lighthouse in the night.